was also able to break a horseshoe in half with his bare hands. Augustus also just weren't a thing.
But there was no human rights then. What do you mean animal rights?
Absolutely horrible. But what made it even worse...
Hello, you sexy bastards. How y'all doing today? We're back again with the newest Mad Lads by your boy Count Dankula. The king so strong he broke a country.
To measure people's strength. We all love to measure people's strength through the feats they achieve to prove it. Whether it be Superman lifting up a car, big Scottish men flipping logs, or the fact that my dad can batter your dad. And when you gain enough of a reputation for performing such feats, it's just a matter of time before you get a nickname to match. But such a nickname isn't always that easy to live up to.
Okay.
Augustus the Strong.
I've never heard of this guy before. Augustus the Strong. Augustus the Strong. Okay. Augustus. Raid Shadow Legends?
But before we get into the video, it is in fact your boy, Raid Shadow Legends. The hottest game in the Play Store with almost a perfect score and over
Show me some
500
titties at least, bro.
for you
Come
to
on.
collect, has just introduced a new playable faction, the Shadowkin. The Shadowkin are heavily inspired by a medieval Japan theme and other East Asian influences. They have ninjas, samurai, and in the lore, no one knows anything about them because they are shrouded in secrecy. Are they good?
Just like our
Japan. Bad? We actually have no idea. And when you get your new Shadowkin champions, don't forget to level them up in the tavern, which is what I'll be doing, so I can test them out in the PvP arena. Raid have just had their 2-year anniversary where they've had a whole month of tournaments and events. They are also about to release a new batch of epic and legendary champions. And they are also releasing their second version of the Doom Tower, with new rewards, new gear, and new bosses.
That's a griffin.
So click my link down below to download Raid Shadow Legends, and if you are a new player, you will get 100,000 silver, 50 gems, 3 ancient shards, and the champion Jotun, who is really good for making it through the Doom Tower. These rewards are only available to new players and only for the next 30 days.
Chat.
And you can find these rewards here.
YouTube comment section. One might say that dude was pretty
Augustus II was born into the House of Wettin on the 12th of May, 1670, in Dresden, which at the time was the electorate of Saxony in the Holy Roman Empire. His father, John George III, was the elector of Saxony until he died on the 12th of September, 1691. With Augustus's older brother, John George IV, succeeding him. On the 20th of January, 1693, Augustus married Christiane Eberhardine of Brandenburg-Bayreuth, and they had a son, Frederick Augustus II, 3 years later. Augustus was obviously very unlikely to become elector due to being the little brother, so his life looked set to be a pretty standard and boring one.
Very unlikely. I mean, when you say, listen, I've played enough Crusader Kings to know that nothing is unlikely in the family chain. Okay.
Of a royal second child. Or was it? While Augustus was gallivanting around Venice during the carnival season, free of any responsibility and without a care in the world, fate said psych, and his brother caught smallpox from his own wife and died on the 27th of April, 1694, without an heir, resulting in Augustus becoming Friedrich Augustus I, Elector of Saxony. After this sudden promotion, Augustus set out to prove his worth by taking command of an imperial army and embarking on 2 campaigns in Hungary in 1695 and 1696 during the war against the Turks. And he failed. But despite this setback, it wasn't too long before Augustus got another opportunity to move up in the world.
And he failed again?
After King John III, Sobieski of Poland, died in 1696, Augustus decided to take a shot at ruling the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and threw his hat in the ring alongside 17 other candidates.
Okay.
And to get a better shot at getting elected, Augustus did a bunch of shady stuff, such as bribing Polish nobles and clergymen, and even...
all I'm gonna say is my boy's playing Crusader Kings the right way. Now he only needs to have a daughter, fuck her, and fuck that daughter's daughter. Yeah, bro, family circle.
Converting to Catholicism. And unsurprisingly, because corruption and the powers that be go hand in hand, it worked. Augustus won the election and was coronated as the King of Poland and Grand Duke of Lithuania on the 15th of September, 1697.
What the hell?
Unfortunately, this move wasn't without its drawbacks, as it alienated his Lutheran subjects back in Saxony. It also didn't help that he taxed them heavily to fund his election campaign. And I know that that's just how the political game works, but buying votes, raising taxes and abandoning principles are things that I consider to be dick moves. And things that I would never do as an elected representative of the Scottish government. Yes, the rumours are true.
He actually fucking he's running for, I don't know what he's running for in the Scottish government, but okay. I mean, it'll be pretty interesting if he wins. That's all I'm gonna say. If he wins, Dankula, if he wins, it's gonna be interesting.
True, I am running in the Scottish election this May. I'm on the Motherwell and Wishaw constituency ballot, and I'm also on the Central Scotland regional ballot. I'm running for the Scottish Libertarians. So on the 6th of May, both votes dank. Do you like freedom? Do you like freedom? I like freedom. I really like freedom. Seems every day we have less and less freedom. Would you like to change that? Well, on the 6th of May, both votes dank. Let's see if we can beat the Greens. See if we can at least beat the Greens. Oh, that'd be the funniest thing I've ever seen. The Polish crown, however, ultimately came at a heavy price, as it also cost Augustus his wife, who stayed Protestant and refused to move to Poland with him. That didn't really make much difference to him, though. In fact, Augustus...
How is that bad? New wife, new alliances. Bro, this dude's actually playing Crusader Kings IRL.
To really enjoy the bachelor lifestyle.
Oh, never mind. No new alliances.
Maybe a little bit too much.
How many kids do you have?
Augustus had many children.
How many?
With a series of 10 mistresses. And while the exact number is almost impossible to verify, some estimates are between 365 and 382 illegitimate children.
Wow, his seeds sure spread around. God damn. This dude be busting nuts like I don't fucking know.
Perspective, that is enough kids to outnumber an entire military company. The man was just a bastard factory, just spitting out bastards like a bastard machine. However, Augustus only recognised enough of these illegitimate children to fill a squad of 8 inglorious bastards who had aristocratic mothers. He may not have followed the no adultery rule very well, but at least he managed to embrace some Catholic customs. Augustus's virility was part of the reason for his nickname, the Strong. But Augustus also was very physically strong, and he liked to prove it, not only by holding up the weight of his mighty eyebrows, but he was also able to break a horseshoe in half with his bare hands. Augustus also liked to demonstrate his impressive strength by partaking in fox tossing. But I'm not talking about the vixens in his bedchambers, no. Literal foxes.
Why are they
fox tossing was a competitive pastime enjoyed by members of the aristocracy, who would stand across from each other in pairs opposite a 20 to 25 foot long sling.
And
an animal, usually a fox, is then released from a cage and made to run through the arena. Once the animal was on top of the sling, the two participants would pull hard on their end of the sling, launching the poor creature up into the air. The winner of the competition would be whoever fired their animal into the sky the highest, with some animals going as high as 7.5 meters before gravity put an end to their suffering.
Well,
however, contests like the...
Foxes are a little bit like cats though. 7 meters shouldn't be too bad, they're small, right? I doubt they die too often. Maybe they fucking die, I don't know. But what the hell, I've never heard of this. Yo, people in the Middle Ages were bored as a motherfucker. How... Nah.
However, contests like these were prone to complications.
I wonder why.
As you would expect,
wild fucking animal
don't like it when you launch them into the air to their deaths. I mean, it's shocking, I know, I mean, who knew? So their survival instinct would kick in, leading to the animals either clinging to the sling for dear life or lashing out and giving the participants the bite and scratch wounds that they so rightly deserve. The scientific term for this is a fight or flight response.
Oh, I thought it was get fucked. Never mind.
I'm allowed to make dad jokes now. Augustus famously held a fox tossing contest in Dresden where he flexed on the competition by holding his side of the sling with just one finger, with two of his strongest men holding the other end. Many animals were yeeted at this event, with the death toll including 647 foxes, 533 hares, 34 badgers,
Jesus.
and 21 wildcats.
Jesus.
Look, it was the 1600s. Animal rights just weren't a thing.
Right, there was no human rights then. What do you mean animal rights?
Absolutely horrible. But what made it even worse was that Augustus was so strong that he probably sent the poor bastards into orbit. But despite being such an absolute unit of a man, Augustus was literally more of a lover than a fighter, which was demonstrated very early in his reign.
Oh?
As a newly crowned king, Augustus needed something to do with his new kingdom beyond reaping the economic benefits that it brought to Saxony. And if there is one thing that kingdoms do, it's expand into empires. So naturally, he started a war. In 1699, Augustus decided to take Swedish Livonia to gain new ports for his kingdom. So he teamed up with Denmark and Russia and declared war on Sweden, which was ruled by Charles XII, also known as Carolus Rex, in a conflict known as the Great Northern War. Now, based on Augustus's past military performance and the fact that he wasn't the one with an entire Sabaton album named after him, I think you can guess how this plan went. It completely failed.
But he has
After
Russian
an attack on Riga by Augustus failed in February of 1700, Sweden defeated the Russians at Narva, while the Danish saw the absolute hammering that their allies were taking and wisely decided to pursue peace instead. In 1701, Charles XII captured Vilna, Warsaw, and Krakow, and the Kingdom of Poland split both literally and spiritually. While some nobles that supported Augustus were ready to fight on with Russia's help, enough nobles had tasted the meatballs and decided to back Sweden. And so they elected Stanislaw Lesinski as their new king in 1704. 2 years later, the Swedes occupied Poland and invaded Saxony. It was at this point where Charles XII forced Augustus to renounce his crown and recognise his replacement in the Treaty of Altenstadt. After this, Augustus went to fight the French in Flanders for 2 years. But Augustus's sheer misfortune wasn't in vain. Charles XII was so preoccupied with slapping Augustus around in the PvP arena that Russia was able to rebuild its army and defeat Sweden in July of 1709. With this defeat, Sweden's hold over the north fell apart and Poland was freed. Stanislaw fled back to Sweden and Augustus declared the Treaty of Altenstadt void, getting his throne back with the support of the Tsar Peter the Great.
Peter the Great. Yo, he does look like a badass though. Tsar, look at this motherfucker. Like paintings of usually the paintings of people from these times were ugly as hell. My boy looks fucking good.
Peter the Great.
Damn, bruh.
So despite causing this entire mess and leaving Russia to do all of the work to fix it, it all worked out for Augustus in the end. He had a second chance, so surely he had learned not to bite off more than he could chew, and he reigned sensibly.
Who did he start a war with next? What did his dumbass do? Did he start a war with Russia? Please don't tell me he started a war with... Please, come on.
For the rest of his days. Nope. The popularity of his restoration as king got to his head, and he tried to rule Poland without the imperial diet of the Holy Roman Empire. This caused a bit of an uproar, and even Augustus's biggest supporters demanded that he follow the constitution. So he ultimately had to back down. To his credit, throughout his reign, Augustus was a big supporter of the arts, and he invested a lot in the culture and architecture of the city of Dresden. He and his courts hosted many lavish masquerades, tournaments, hunts, and celebrations there. Augustus had several Baroque palaces, terraces, and chapels built along the Elbe River, and he also invited artists from all over Europe to Dresden. Funnily enough, Augustus's influence over the city actually almost made up for his foreign policy because of how well his investment in it maintained its value. As a man of culture, Augustus was obsessed with Chinese-made porcelain because it was extremely rare in Europe at the time, which made it a very valuable status symbol to Augustus. Therefore, he started amassing an extensive collection of the stuff. But no matter how much porcelain Augustus bought, it was never enough. So, in order to get more,
by China,
he needed to produce it. Except, people outside of China had been trying to do so for centuries to no avail, as their method of mixing white substances such as eggshells and clay together wasn't working. And with that kind of failure record, surely there was no hope. Surely Augustus couldn't just make his own porcelain, resulting in yet another failure being added to his record. Well, Augustus thought so too. So he came up with a workaround and got help. In 1701, the alchemist Johann Friedrich Böttger was on the run from the King of Prussia, Frederick I. Probably for promising to make gold and being exposed as a charlatan. Seeing the value of his talents, Augustus saved Böttger from Frederick's clutches. By imprisoning him.
Congratulations. You are being rescued. Please do not resist.
In return for his protection, Böttger was forced to put his skills to good use to make gold so that Augustus could buy more porcelain.
Why not make porcelain?
But of course, Böttger only had one problem.
He couldn't make gold.
He couldn't just clap his hands together and transmute gold from regular crappy materials. Fully aware of this and concerned about what would happen if he didn't manage to meet Augustus's demands, Böttger suggested something that Augustus should have arrived at the instant he captured an alchemist. Just get the alchemist to make porcelain. After all, why go to so much trouble to procure a precious metal to trade for porcelain when you can just cut out the middleman and just make porcelain yourself? Plus, I'm willing to bet that porcelain is a lot easier to do than, gold transmutation. So after years of figuring out and refining the technique,
I've watched too much film with
Böttger managed to make porcelain by superheating clay. The Meissen porcelain factory was then established in 1709, and it's actually still open to this day.
That's cool.
Imagine being a gigantic buff man that can snap horseshoes in half with your bare hands. You are also
with 300 kids,
and you've also got over 360 bastards to your name. You're that much of a shagger. But your flex is your plate collection.
Hey, come on.
Your flex is your collection of fancy plates.
Ain't
marriage, ain't the Swedes, ain't the Empire. Love me plates. Unfortunately, Augustus getting his throne back using the tried and true method of Russian meddling came with a price.
Of course it did.
Russia's influence in Europe had increased greatly thanks to the Northern War. Because Russia had bailed him out so many times, Augustus's hold on what little remained of his power was so dependent on them that Poland became little more than a glorified vassal state to the Russian Empire. To make matters even worse, Augustus was constantly troubled by factions of aristocrats turning against him, which foiled his attempts to loosen Russia's grip on him by making alliances with England and Austria after he made peace with Sweden in 1719. Out of luck and out of influence, Augustus spent the rest of his reign drinking wine and trying to turn Poland into a hereditary monarchy and secure the secession
I think I was gonna say into a baby factory or something like that, but I guess he stopped making too many children later on in his life.
Legitimate son with less than
he has a
ideal
legitimate
results.
son?
This guy just didn't know when to quit, did he?
Hey, come on, you got...
Later in life, Augustus became obese and diabetic and died on the 1st of February 1733 in Warsaw, aged at 62 years old.
That's not bad.
Weighing about 110 kilograms. He was buried in the Wawel Cathedral in Krakow. But his heart is held in a capsule in Dresden Cathedral.
Why?
For some reason. Funnily enough, Augustus was such a screw-up that he couldn't even die without causing trouble. Upon Augustus's death, Polish names, Stanislaw Lezinski returned, looked at the crown, and thought, I'll have that back.
Why not?
And was elected king with the support of his son-in-law, Louis XV of France. Augustus's son, imaginatively named Augustus III at this point, did not take this lying down and teamed up with the Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI and Anna of Russia, which began the Polish War of Secession. Stanislaw was unable to resist the Russian forces and fled to France. The war then waged on along the Rhine and in Italy, with Spain and Sardinia joining France's side. Spain joined because it wanted to take Naples and Sicily, which they had previously lost to Austria, and Sardinia also had a bone to pick with the Austrians. Europe has been a messy place for like the last 1,000 years.
1,000?
In a nutshell. Augustus...
For the last... Bruh. Europe has always been a fucking war den. What you mean 1,000? Even before that was a shithole of everyone killing each other.
The second died.
Come on, that's like
his
always.
son and Stanislaw began fighting over the Polish throne. A bunch of
Barbarian
other countries
invasion,
dogpiled in for their own reasons, and the entire thing devolved into yet another giant geopolitical mess.
Of course.
Augustus II truly died as he lived. As a massive pain in the arse. Peace was eventually achieved by the Treaty of Vienna, which, after much negotiating, was signed in 1738. Stanislaw gave up on the Polish throne, though he got to keep his title, and he was given the duchies of Lorraine and Bar for his troubles. Augustus III became the King of Poland, Spain got to keep Naples and Sicily, Sardinia got pretty much nothing, and Augustus II the Strong was fully cemented as Poland's biggest disappointment.
Damn.
Right up until Cyberpunk 2077. I know that mad lads usually commit great deeds to earn the title, and that despite having done some mad things, Augustus II was pretty much defined by what he failed to do.
Well, okay.
But I thought I would...
He doesn't seem that bad though. Like, he got Poland when he should not have had anything to do with fucking Poland. He made a factory. He built some shit. and he died old while spreading his seed around. I'm pretty sure as a, back in the day ruler, he did better than most.
Include him anyway.
They don't seem that
It's
bad.
an interesting example of someone that was mostly style over substance. And also, perhaps, partly out of pity. Overall, after being unexpectedly thrust into a serious position of power...
he should do a lot of thrusting.
Augustus seemed more interested in living like a king than actually being one, which ultimately resulted in the destabilization of Poland and the beginning of its decline as a European power. Despite having great physical strength, he was never really strong where it counted, and his overambition led to disaster time and time again. But name one king that could launch a fox into orbit.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube!
God damn it, Dankula! Okay. I was expecting a lot more when I heard the dude's title is The Strong. I was expecting him to go to war, crack heads with his fingers plowing and some other shit, but nah. It didn't do like that shit, bro. Anyway, hope y'all enjoy this. What y'all think? I don't think his rule was that bad. Like, the war he started wasn't the greatest with whatever the fuck, Sweden. Yeah, that probably wasn't the greatest, but I mean, considering he had Russia on his side, he probably didn't think much of it. So yeah, I don't know. What y'all think about it? I don't think he did that bad. Anyway, quick thank you to YouTube members and patrons. Thank you all for the support. I'll be streaming some Minecraft later on today. Yeah, pretty much that's it. Oh yeah, if you want to see more Count Dankula reactions from your boy, playlist right here. Check him out. And have a nice day, everybody. Bye-bye.